This works. Okay, I started recording. Can you guys see that?
I can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So I guess we'll get started. And I was just telling Ethan, but sorry if I sound dead and stuff. I only got like 3 hours of sleep today, so so sorry if I slur my words or whatever. Um, but for this meeting and pretty much every meeting up until like February, I thought it'd probably be a good idea to focus on the competition. Um, and that doesn't mean like if you're not a part of it this year, that doesn't mean that, you know, oh, well, I guess these meetings are useless for me then. They're still security related. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'll try my best to tell you guys what's right and then what's like actually right for the competition because believe it or not, there's a bunch of stuff that security people would totally do for the competition or for real life, but for some reason you can't do for the competition. Like for example, um, I don't know. So one like easy solution to somebody trying to DDoS you would be to just block their IP address. You can't do that in the competition. So I'll do my best to explain like what's right for the competition and then like what's actually right. Um, so yeah, so for this meeting, we're gonna be doing Linux. Uh, and let me pull up the topology here. Can you guys see that? Okay. Let me just make sure my recording is getting it too. Okay. So as you guys can see, we have. Oop, that's way too zoomed in. Phantom on CentOS, Debian in MySQL, Ubuntu with a DNS server, Windows Server 2008 with Active Directory and DNS, Windows 8.1, Splunk on CentOS e-commerce website. I think that's what it is, and then a webmail on Fedora. Now, CentOS and Fedora and Debian and Ubuntu are different a little bit, and they're pretty similar but different in some ways. Debian and Ubuntu are pretty much the same thing, just slightly different. And then CentOS and Fedora, same thing, just slightly different. Um, so I'll try my best to explain both. But if you really want to know, you definitely want to do the research yourself because there's so much to both of them that I'm probably not gonna be able to get through all of them by the competition. But I'll do my best. So I'm just gonna kind of for this meeting, I'm gonna start out fresh. We're gonna assume this is our web server for now, and this isn't Ubuntu or Debian. It's actually Linux Mint. And I'm trying to. The reason why I chose Linux Mint is I'm gonna try to show you like that Debian, as long as it's a Debian-based machine, it's very similar in pretty much every way. Um, so yeah. So first thing we want to do is so one of the big things I noticed in last year's competition, or at least I had problems with personally, was things would take like forever, like especially installing stuff, right? Um, and that was because they were on virtual machines that were specifically set with like low memory and CPU and whatnot. So, but one of the biggest and most important things to securing a system is to update it, right? Uh, And so what we're actually going to do before we update it is we're going to install a bunch of stuff. So apt install rootkit hunter, right? And then fail to ban. Now, I don't think we should use fail to ban for the competition because what fail to ban does it's like an anti DDoS or brute force program. And so it literally what it does is it tries to see like a pattern of like who's trying to brute force or DDoS our server, and how the judges for the competition score us is they'll just constantly ping our machines, and it might it might create a false positive basically and block the judge's IP address, and then we'll start losing points. So And, like, I don't know for sure. If you guys know that fail to ban won't do that, let me know. But I don't think it's a good idea to install it for the competition, just because of that. In real life, though, yes, you definitely want to install that. And then we also want open SSH server, and I'll get to that in a second. I'll explain why. And then UFW, and then net dash tools. I think Linux Mint and Ubuntu have it installed by default, but I know Ubuntu server doesn't. And then we'll do dash y, and then arrow dev null, and that's kind of like a black hole, right? And then 2 arrow and 1, and then and the reason why I did this last part here was because of what I was saying earlier. These machines are probably going to be very slow and have really bad internet. So what this does right here is it kind of runs it in the background while we can do other stuff. So as you can see here, it created a process ID. So if we look for it, 1802. Actually, it might have already finished. Yeah, actually, it probably already finished. I don't see it. Oh, maybe that's it actually right there. Did I say 02? Oh yeah, it is 02. Yeah, it probably already finished. So anyway, that's just I just showed you that command. So if it is really slow and you want to see if it's still running, you can see if it is, or maybe you're just getting DDoSed or whatever. I don't know. But um, so after that, we want to type apt update, right? Just do that really quick. That only takes like 10 seconds, really. Oh, okay, so that was still running. That's fine. So then after that, we can type apt upgrade -y. And on Debian machines and Ubuntu machines, they usually like to automatically update when you first install the operating system, so it might already be doing it and it might error out, but that's fine. So arrow. Oops. There we go. So it created a process. Now it's just going to update everything. So while we're doing that, we can move on to the next thing. Now upgrades, like I said, usually take a good, at least on my virtual machines, they take a good like 10 to 15 minutes. So during the competition, they'll probably take like way longer. So that's why, like I said, running it in the background is probably a very good idea. Last year, I was also on the Windows Server 2008 machine, and so before like COVID and all that, we had a scrimmage competition, and that and when we were doing the competition for that, I was on the same machine, and the users in the Active Directory, there was only like 15, but during the competition it was like 40,000. So I spent like a good like hour and a half just doing that. So that's why it's always good if you can find ideas to like automate stuff. Um, it's very good to do that. And honestly, if you think about it, that's a big part of IT in general. I'm sure we can all agree as IT students that it would be so much easier if we could just write a program to do stuff for us, So it's definitely, if you figure out a way to do something like that, definitely do it. Um, so I guess while that's running, next thing we can do is we can see if there's rogue users or um, people on the computer that have admin rights that shouldn't. Now, if this is a website, our machine here, if it's running a website, you shouldn't really need more than maybe like 2 or 3 users, and that's probably pushing it. So how we see is we type grep sudo and then /etc group. And as we can see here, it's just my account. I'm going to make an account just to show you. So how we do that is we type add user, and then hackerman, I guess we can say, right? And then 1234 for the password. Wait, there we go. Oh no, I messed it up. Okay, 1234. I'll just go through all this. Yes. Alright, so now if we look in here, we should have... oh, we didn't add it to the sudo group. So we created a user, but we didn't add it to give it admin, right? So we're in just so everybody knows, we're in like hacker mode right now. We are the hackers, and we're adding users to the admin account. So we're adding persistence basically, so we can keep shutting down this machine if we want to. So user mod dash a g sudo and then hackerman, right? So now we should have a user in there called hackerman, right? So let's log into that for a sec. All right, so we'll just get into root. All right, so now let's create some malware, I guess we can do, right? So nano this will just be pretty simple. Oops. Hext, I guess. Oops. There we go. And then we'll just call back the main function. If I can type. So basically what we're doing here is we're creating an endless loop that basically says hext, pretty much. In Python, just so you guys know, this would eventually end, and I think they do that on purpose to prevent, like, people from, creating malicious programs, or if somebody did it by accident. Because endless loops are not fun, especially if you do them right. Like, I accidentally created one once that it would always run on boot too, so and what it would do is it would just keep creating folders. Like, it would create like 500 a second. Um, so I had no choice but to wipe the machine pretty much. um, so let's just do that, and then we'll run it just to see if it works. All right, so and then we'll put that in the background just to show you. Alright, so now we'll log out. Actually, we'll do this. Okay, so one good tool also, I guess I can mention too, is Top. You've seen it before. It monitors and looks at all the processes and stuff. But we can do -u and then Hackerman to see everything running on Hackerman's machine. Now, interesting. Oh, okay. So that's probably because I logged out. That's why it's showing that. If I didn't log out, it would show that Bash is running and Python is running. So let me try that actually. And that's another thing. Actually, here, let's do this. Let's just do that. I think it's still gonna do it actually. I can't think off the top of my head what the actual command is. Okay, yeah, it's still doing it. Long story short, I'm just trying to show you guys, like, how you can monitor users. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head, but it's whatever. It's still that's not the point. So okay, let's pretend that we see something on there that's running, and like I said, this is our web server, right? So um, and if we see Python's running or anything else, not related to that, it probably is the hacker, right? So we want to get rid of that. So we type kill and then the process ID of whatever is running, right? And then what we can do also is we can delete the user, del user, right? And it just deletes it. So we're good there. And before I forget, we also want to, for the competition, we want to report this. And so last year it was Discord we used, and what we would do is we would just create documents saying we found a flaw, this is the information, and then we'd submit it. we'd get points, we move on. I don't know how they're gonna do it this year. They usually don't tell us anything till like the week before. So, um, so yeah, but usually it's something like that. I think they actually give us like a template to use. If we literally find a flaw or if we find proof that somebody hacked a part of our machine, they literally give us a document that we have to use. Um, so yeah, we'll get there when we get there. So next thing we want to do after we see some users and delete them, whatever, uh, we use UFW. Now I like UFW personally. You can use IP tables or whatever you like. I think UFW is easy. We want to allow port 80, right? Because we're using a website, and then UFW allow 22. Now, the reason why I chose 22 is because we want to allow SSH. And I don't know if I said this already, but for the competition, they also use SSH. From what I understand, they also use SSH as like a scoring. Um, so they'll keep trying to connect to it via SSH, and if they can connect to it, then we get more points. Last year, if I remember right, we actually were thinking about blocking SSH because why would you really need it? Um, but we figured out later that we actually need it because that's, like I said, how they score us. It might change this year again, I'm not sure, but we're just gonna allow it. And then if I did everything right, we should have Apache. Okay, I'll just install it again here. Oh, okay, yeah. See, like I said, updating takes a while, so it's still running, so that's probably why we can't do it right now. So that's fine. We'll just move on to something else. Um, so one thing we can do, I don't have a CentOS machine on me right now, but CentOS and Fedora and all that stuff, like I said, is pretty similar. The only difference is for updating and stuff, we do DNF upgrade. And correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, I'm not a CentOS guy, so I don't know for sure, but this should be right. And then we can also do yum update. Oops. If I can type. Right? And then we can also do, if we want to install something, we do DNF install, and then whatever it is, right? Obviously, it's not going to work because I'm on a Debian-based machine. If we want to see what users are in the admin category, we type grep, and then wheel etc, and then group. We can also do etc password or passwd, and then if we want to add a user, we type user add and then the username. I think it actually works on Debian machines too. Yeah. And then user del username, right? Now another thing we can do, and actually, you know what? Because this has taken forever still, I'm actually going to pause this one and open up this one. I was practicing earlier, and I know for sure I have SSH and all that stuff installed on this one, so we'll see here. So we type ss-atpu, and what this does is it shows us all the services that are being used, and it shows us the computers that are connecting to it and what is being listened, right? So, for example, we're listening on SSH here, and another thing to mention too, if you notice, SSH, the port number that it's listening on is 128. And that's a big thing for the competition too, and this is why when it starts to get all weird, right, is stuff like this, you don't think about it till like a couple hours later. Did the hacker do that, or do we want to keep it that way, right? Because a lot of people say it's more secure to put it on a random port, but what if the judges are just assuming you're on port 22, right? Because if you guys don't know, that's the default port for SSH. So, you always want to make sure that you got this stuff right. Um, and yeah, and like I said, they might when the competition starts, they might specifically do this on purpose to see if you ever change it. If you don't ever change it, you might lose a lot of points, right? So let's change that real quick actually. So we type nano etc ssh. I don't remember the actual file. Hold on. I think it's sshd config. Oops, not ls. So yeah, like I said, this is it's just the little stuff like that that really can bite you in the ass. Um, okay, let's see. Oh, you know what? I know what happened. So it is on port 22, but I actually didn't restart it. So it was on 128 at one point. So actually, you know what? Let's do this. So it's on port 22 right now. Let's change it to 222, I guess, right? And then okay, so now if we type that command again, now it's on 222. Oh, it's still restarting actually. Here, let's do this. So yeah, you get the idea though. So you always want to change this, at least for the competition. I think we should change it back to 22. If we really want to change the port number to something else, we might have to request it to our quote unquote CEOs, I guess you could say, right? Um, and that's another thing I forgot to mention too is the a lot of big changes like that we have to request. When I was on the Active Directory machine on Windows Server, I wanted to, like I said earlier, I wanted to move all the users to a separate folder so I could start limiting access for those people. Well, I actually figured out later that I had, well, no, I did do it, but I had to ask permission for it first because it could temporarily disable access for some employees. Like if this was a real world, right? And all these employees just have this access and then all of a sudden they don't, they might not be able to work until we give them that access. So I had to request it and they said, yeah, that's fine. Um, yeah, so long story short, yeah, just always request for big things like this if you really want to change the port number. Um, and yeah, so let's do that. Another thing we can do here, let's see. So another thing that might look a little weird is so that's 222. We also see here that Apache 2 is running. Now, that's normal, like I said, but if it was running on your, let's say your SQL machine, right, that might not be okay. So one thing we can do to disable it is we can type apt purge and then Apache 2. Oh, that's why I'm using it right now. So that's it's gonna say now, service. If I can type. Let's see. Oh, it's what? Oh, okay. Okay, so apparently, apt when I was updating this machine, it's still running on this one also. If we type update, it probably won't work. Oh, upgrade maybe? Yeah, okay. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay. So all right, let's see here. I don't want to kill it because it might destroy this machine, but that that's what you would do. You type apt purge and then the file you want to get rid of, and that just it literally gets rid of the entire service. So the hacker's gonna have to reinstall it. And I guess if the machine's taking forever to update, the hacker won't be able to install anything. So that that's one way of stopping hackers is if you can't use it yourself, the hackers won't be able to use it. um, so yeah, so Oh, and I forgot to mention too, in CentOS, how you would want to remove a package like that if you saw something that you didn't want installed on your machine is you type yum remove and then the package, right? Let's see. Another thing we can do is we can change the boot directory to read only. And now I'll be honest right now, this is something that I had trouble with, so we might not be able to do it today, but let's see. I'm just gonna try something real quick. And this will be our last thing for this week. I know that was kind of a lot. Uh, Sorry, I'm looking for because I didn't finish this. Because I wrote these notes down, but I didn't finish writing this one down. Uh, okay, so I believe this is right here. So we want to type nano and then slash etc fstab, right? And then we want to add a line at the bottom here that says this. Um, and I'm gonna get back next meeting. I'm gonna go over this again because oops, that's not right. Because there's more you can do. But we're gonna type label equals boot and then boot ex2 t2 and then you add. I think you just add read only right after that. No, that's not right. Um, let's see here. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna get back to this one in next meeting because I believe this is right, but I think there is something else you type after this. But literally, so what I was getting at with this one is what it does is it changes the boot directory to read only. So the hackers can't put in their own code in there. Because what happens is if they mess with that directory, then they have access to your kernel, and a bunch of other stuff. And what they can literally do at that point is they pretty much have God access. So you want to set that to read only, so they can't edit that right off the bat, and have persistence because that could be a big problem. Um, so yeah, I'll end this meeting because I know that was kind of a lot and my voice is getting really tired. Um, so I hope you all learned something. If you're in the competition, uh, take note of this because it's useful stuff. We didn't go through everything. I'll try to go through more next week. I'm also gonna try to tackle like Windows security next week. So yeah. All right. So I hope you guys have a good week. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.